Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly Video for the 4th of February here in 2021. And what we are seeing right there is an all-time high in the S&P futures. And that's where we'll start the video. It's the strong stocks getting stronger, strong market getting stronger, creep getting creepier, bull getting bullier, and everything else in between. So we'll pick up the video right there with the S&P piercing through this 3860. Again, this is the S&P futures and closing, at least up after hours, 3866, 3867. For the S&P, SPX, which is our broader index, it did so, but maybe not as cleanly or clearly. Nevertheless, a new all-time high is a new all-time high. And in the Nasdaq, did not quite. I know we're just splitting hairs, being extremely technical, but markets showing resiliency despite all the news and everything else in play and in motion. But the logic I have is strong stocks do get stronger, strong markets do get stronger. It never lasts forever, but in the short term, that can help guide some decisions, at least getting on board with the trend and not fighting too much against it. We still have to have hedges and positions to play for ramps up and increases and jumps and volatility, and they will occur. They certainly will occur, but they will occur less frequently than these up creep moves. So even going back to the S&P, I know that's a huge move. That's a coronavirus crash. But in terms of pullbacks, snapbacks, and violent reversals, there was, after the crash, 1, 2, 3, and then that's it. Still gearing up for the next one, but that's a long-term perspective and a safety type of play. In the Dow mini futures, again, not quite at the high. But what did drive the market today and what got our attention in the mean and everything else room was the Russell. And that's on the back of financials. Most of our trending stocks or stocks that were doing very, very well today were financial names. PayPal, I guess we can call that a financial, but it's more technology financial regardless. PayPal is up trending and continued uptrending to another new all-time high. And we'll step back to the broader XLF. That overshoot took its snap back like a rubber band back, and now we are into this 30 and 80, just shy of $31 on the ETF. Otherwise, strong stocks today included AIG and MetLife. Now, the strategy I like to use or discuss and advocate for is identifying a trend and buying on pullbacks or retracements. Those take the form of flags or just 3, 4, 5, 6 day pullbacks or down moves against a rising average. So the entry points or the logistical buys are into support, moving averages or prior support levels or any other type of buy opportunity, which includes call spreads or calls or any other type of support levels. And same logic for Capital One. See how the price tends to hug or hold the rising moving averages. That's for uptrending stocks only. If they're not uptrending, that won't happen. And down the list, AXP, American Express, US Bank Corp. They're not all perfect. They're not all trending. Not all financial names we're looking at are strong stocks getting stronger. Cisco is a name that did. That's just taking a look at some of the biggest gaining stocks of today's session. Again, with the XLF being one of the top leaders, actually the top leader, up 2.2%. Behind that was XLK. And that'll tie right into the Nasdaq because that is the technology sector. Or similarly with QQQ. And just ETF, the technology specific sector ETF, the QQQ Nasdaq, and of course the Nasdaq futures contract. Those are all in play. And key technology names help boost those higher, or if the technology names suffer or are weak, that pulls the index down. But back to the theme of strong, stronger, and this uptrending, seemingly never ending. It will end, but it's not ended just yet. A bull market ongoing. These are a look at some of the names. Qualcomm was the weakest stock today in the S&P, or the weakest large stock in the S&P 500. And the 100, it's squished up. This is all based on market cap. Some of the weaker names are over here in materials. And of course, the Russell, broad-based strength. I have to look for GameStop was easy to find a few days ago, but it's not quite easy anymore. It's in this area of the grid. May find it later. But GameStop was a kind of a major player, but that is no longer the case. Plug, fuel cells, some others. But the Russell does not have the same condition or characteristic that the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 have, where some stocks, Apple, for example, Amazon, Tesla, Google, Facebook, and Microsoft, dominate the market capitalization, which impacts the price of the underlying index. Now let's go ahead and find which stocks are joining the market and which ones we continue to keep our eye on. PayPal is the number one. So what is this? This is a scan of the top or the whole S&P 500, and these are the stocks making new 52-week highs, and that's along with the market in today's session. There are 24 of them which are making new all-time highs in the S&P 500. I tend to focus on the big market cap names. So I'll take these names, I'll put them into a little list here that just allows me to click on the charts for the video quickly. So just to name a few: PayPal, ServiceNow, John Deere, HCA, Align Technology, Twitter, which is one I wouldn't have expected to make a new all-time high, but today it did. eBay, kind of a competitor to Amazon, online auctioneer going back about 20 years, seems like. Fortinet, of course, the Nasdaq itself, the company corporation, and others down the list. You may or may not have positions on these stocks. Then the charts. Again, just taking a look quickly, kind of a broad overview of some of these names. And I'll do it by market cap. Just a few of the top names. So PayPal, strong stock getting stronger. ServiceNow. These are patterns I like to see for a particular strategy. Not the whole strategy, not the entire thing I do or anybody does, but just finding something strong and adding delta, adding positions on pullbacks. There's no position to be added right here. The market is more likely than not to pull back and retrace when it makes those all-time highs. But the pullback trade, or the trade is on the pullback or retracement. John Deere, very stable uptrend. HCA, relatively stable uptrend. And Align Technology, you're seeing a similar picture. And that's why I provide these scan candidates on a relatively regular basis here in the evening videos, because that which is strong now does tend to get stronger. Stocks under accumulation or rising trends, fundamentally improving or rising on a chart, tend to keep rising. They don't tend to fall apart. And when they do, there's usually plenty of signs. Certainly some things do fall apart quickly, but more than not, the trend continues until the point that it doesn't. But there's plenty more points that it continues than the one point that it does not. And Twitter, surprisingly, with the volatility of the company and the headline news and all the other information out about it, it continued a relatively stable uptrend as well. It has been more violent, volatile, and gap-centric in the last few months. And maybe we'll end with eBay. Not as clean or clear as the other uptrends. Compare that to John Deere. But nonetheless, did keep going higher. And for comparison, if you're curious, this is the hourly chart for very short-term trades and the daily chart for bigger perspective, maybe duration or longer-term swing trades. I have no answers, but I do look at charts, and trades are just probability. Short-term in-out spreads, short-term vertical spreads, putting on risk, putting on hedges. It's just playing the game, playing the trading environment within conditions of uncertainty. But principles hold. Strong stocks get stronger, but it doesn't always last. That's why we do have to have protection, do have to have hedges. But at the moment, these strong stocks continue getting stronger, and that's been the case. Really, the market rallied November, December, and into January. Here we are into February. With this, always be careful, always be safe. This is Corey Rosenblum with tonight's Theo video update for February 4th, 2021.